fire broke out at the Navajo Refinery located in Artesia, New Mexico. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. It was reported at 12:30 p.m. and fire crews from the refinery were on scene within 5 to 7 minutes. Let's hear what Steve Lackey, the environmental specialist at the refinery, has to say.
No danger to public health as a result of the fire. There was no need for any evacuations. We did, as a precaution, sound the evacuation alarm in the refinery for the workers at the plant. And when we do sound that alarm, basically everyone goes to a predetermined staging area within the refinery. We take a head count. All of our employees were accounted for with no injuries. The only injuries at this point that we are aware of are the two contract employees. We don't have any idea of what caused the fire at this point. The tank, it's a new tank that was being hydro tested, which means we fill it with water, to determine if there's any.
So it should have only been water in that tank.
That's correct.
Water and steel should have been the two elements.
That's correct.
Involved with.
We have an emergency response team there at the refinery, and of course that consists of refinery operations individuals. The maintenance crew is part of that, and we have a trained firefighting team there that's known as a REACT team. And whenever we have these types of events and incidents within the refinery, obviously those guys are the first ones to respond to the situation. I understand that we did have an offer of help from the Artesia Fire Department. We declined that because we had things at that point under control. Didn't feel the need to bring any additional equipment and manpower in. Obviously you want to limit the amount of people that could be possibly exposed to that. So as long as we can contain it with our trained personnel, and part of that staff too includes two EMTs, emergency medical technicians on that staff also, to treat any injuries that might occur. So we do have these guys that attend training on an annual basis. Most of these guys, if not all of them, have been to the firefighting school at Beaumont, at Lamar Tech, which is recognized around the world for their training facilities. We're pretty well self-contained. We do purchase, obviously, outside utilities, electrical, water services, but some fuel gas services for some of our processes. But for the most part, it's pretty self-contained. One thing that I think people should take comfort in, the fact that this refinery here in Artesia, in one form or another, has been here since the early 1920s. And obviously in this type of industry, where you're dealing with volatile materials, there's a potential, for these type of events. I can't say they're not uncommon, but they do occur periodically. And the fact that the controls that are in place to protect the equipment and the personnel, I think speaks for itself, in the fact that we don't have that many events with a facility this size. As far as I'm aware of, there's been no evacuations of anyone in the city as a result of any events that have occurred in the refinery. There's been no deaths associated with any of the events that have occurred within the refinery. I think our safety record speaks for itself. The amount of equipment, personnel that we have within the refinery, and the safety record that we have should put the public's fears, I hope, to rest. Obviously you see flares that go off out there. Those are protected devices. When you have an upset, it's designed to relieve any excess pressure or hazardous materials, and you combust that in a flare. It's elevated 200 feet plus, so you disperse any of the emissions that there. We are very highly regulated, as you can imagine, as an energy industry, through air quality, the Environmental Quality Board here in New Mexico, and the Environmental Protection Agency. We have rules and regulations we have to follow, as well as safety regulations that are governed under OSHA standards. So we have to meet a lot of stringent criteria to operate this facility. And obviously, if we don't operate it properly, then we could be shut down. And obviously, the black smoke indicates that there was hydrocarbon in the tank. As far as I know, the tank was being hydro tested, tested after construction, and should not have been anything there. But we don't know that at this point until we further investigate. Okay. They had the fire out. They were cooling the tank shell down. They keep water on the tank for some period of time, and you keep staff there at the facility, the location, to be sure that there are no flare-ups, just like you would any other fire, like you would a fire, grass fire or a forest fire, you keep a crew there just on standby. They'll be there through early evening, I'm sure,
Okay.
before they have things completely under control. I left to come over here, they had called in and said that they had foam on the tank and had the fire out and were in the process of cooling the equipment down. We had one of the process units that was shut down, and basically the feed that was going to that unit, we diverted to that flare until we get that process unit restarted. Again, I can't speculate on what caused that. Obviously, until we have a full investigation, we don't know. The investigation will tell us was it preventable.
Okay.
But until we assemble the investigation team and they get a chance to interview the people that were involved. Right now, we were just concerned with getting the word out about injuries, that we did have the situation under control, and that we would be doing a very thorough investigation to determine. We typically have 300 plus employees and then contract employees there, so yeah, I don't know that anyone actually left. I mean, we evacuated to the staging areas, and then we gave the all clear for all the office personnel to come back into the office buildings there. So now the operations group, now that they have things under control, I'm assuming that those guys are back on the job at this point, operations and maintenance group. And keep in mind too that the tanks, the way they're designed, you have containment around the storage tanks in the event that you did have a complete failure, which is very rare if that occurs. So. No, it was not an explosion.
Okay.
The process is to get your fire truck staged in an area where it's safe to come in and attack the fire. They put water, first of all, on the shell of the tank to keep the tank cool, and then they have a foam trailer that they bring in that you can lay down a layer of foam on top of the burning material to smother the flames at that point. And as soon as they were able to get the foam station there, which was probably I would say 115 or 130 that they were actually applying foam to the tank. And shortly after that, they had the fire out. The water is sprayed on the outside of the tank to cool down the tank. And then the foam is applied to actually smother the flame. You just cut off the source of oxygen to the material. This crew is, I would characterize as top-notch. Extremely well-trained, very competent individuals, and think of yourself. You have to have a certain mentality and dedication to go into situations like that. And these guys don't hesitate a second. They know their job. They know what's required. They have the equipment and the resources that they need to go into something like that. Obviously, they're not reckless. They don't take chances. It's all well orchestrated. That these guys, they know their job. We certainly depend on them. We had 2 contractors that were taken to the Artesia hospital. My understanding is they've since been airlifted to Lubbock in serious condition. I don't have any other further updates on their condition at this point. I think they were male employees. Get further information at this point, but as soon as we do, there'll be a future press release to let people know where the status, particularly the injured contract employees. Again, we're very concerned about those folks and their families, so that's first and foremost to make sure that they are taken care of.